You recognize the pattern. A soft word, a sudden praise, it feels good. Too good, perhaps. This isn't genuine appreciation. It's an insertion, a probe. The wire in the compliment bypasses your defenses, not to uplift, but to establish a connection, a channel of influence. The initial praise is designed to disarm, to open a specific psychological port. It creates a micro-moment of trust, a temporary lowering of your internal firewall. You register the positive input, your system interprets it as validation, and for an instant, you become receptive. This isn't about your worth, it's about network access. The wire itself is invisible. It's an unspoken expectation, a subtle obligation that settles in the peripheral vision of your awareness. You've received a gift, now a debt is silently incurred. It's not a direct request, but a subconscious pressure to maintain the validation, to earn more. This technique is a cold start for compliance. It primes your mind for future directives by establishing a positive feedback loop tied to their input. The cost of this seemingly innocuous praise is the subtle surrender of your autonomy, a breach in your self-perception that allows an external feed to dictate your value. The wires aren't meant to hold securely, only to create a momentary circuit. But a circuit, once established, can carry further signals. This initial breach sets the stage for the next phase of infiltration. The sustained, overwhelming stream of the love bomb frequency loop. And real quick, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell for more videos. Now let's keep going. The love bomb isn't affection, it's a frequency. A torrent of intense admiration, declarations of instant connection, and future-pacing promises. It overloads your emotional senses, creating a state of disequilibrium. You're not being seen, you're being saturated. This deluge of positive reinforcement is a sophisticated jamming signal. It drowns out your internal alarms, your rational assessments. When the love bomb frequency hits, your critical thinking processes are suppressed, replaced by a euphoric, yet artificial, sense of belonging and desirability. The objective is to establish an immediate, intense bond that feels uniquely fated. This creates a psychological dependency, making you crave the constant high of their attention. Your system becomes accustomed to, then reliant on, this manufactured validation. This constant input distorts your reality, painting them as a source of ultimate fulfillment. The true danger lies in the speed and intensity. It bypasses the natural process of building trust, installing a prefabricated emotional construct that is fragile and entirely under their control. The cost is an accelerated vulnerability. You trade genuine self-worth for an externally supplied dopamine hit. This intense frequency loop prepares your system for deeper manipulation, making you eager to please. Now, an apology isn't remorse, it's a loop entry point. An apology, conventionally, signifies recognition of fault, a desire for repair. But in this architecture, it's a strategic maneuver. It's not about taking responsibility. It's about regaining control of the narrative and re-engaging the victim. The apology functions as a reset button, wiping the slate clean without genuine change. The effectiveness of this tactic lies in its ability to exploit your desire for reconciliation and justice. You want closure, an acknowledgement of the harm. They offer a superficial version, a verbal concession that buys them time and secures their continued presence in your emotional space. They concede a minor point to avoid accountability for a larger pattern. The apology is often vague, filled with qualifiers or redirects blame. It's a performance designed to elicit empathy, to make you drop your guard and reopen the channels of interaction. This loop entry re-establishes their access to your emotional system. By accepting the apology, you inadvertently agree to continue the cycle, granting them permission to repeat the transgression. The cost is your eroding sense of boundaries and a growing tolerance for their behavior. This emotional re-engagement allows for the next tactic, triangulation signal scramble. Triangulation isn't just involving a third party. It's a deliberate scramble of your emotional frequency. They introduce an external element, another person, a past relationship, a hypothetical standard, not for comparison, but for psychological destabilization. The goal is to make you feel perpetually insecure and competitive. By positioning themselves as the prize, or by framing others as threats, they manipulate your perception of value and loyalty. The third party doesn't need to be real or even aware of their role. Their existence as a perceived rival is sufficient to trigger your primal fear of abandonment and inadequacy. This tactic creates an emotional fog, clouding your judgment and forcing you to constantly seek their approval. You find yourself fighting for their attention, proving your worth against an imagined competitor. Your focus shifts from their behavior to your own performance within their manufactured drama. The constant comparison wears down your self-esteem, making you question your own perceptions and reality. It creates an internal conflict where you are always on edge, always striving for an unattainable ideal. The cost is severe, a fragmented sense of self, perpetually seeking external validation. This psychological warfare now leads to the mirrored mask. The mirrored mask is not a disguise, it is an amplification. They reflect your desires, your values, your very essence back at you with uncanny precision. They become the ideal partner, friend, or confidant, perfectly aligning with every subconscious longing you possess. This isn't empathy, it's data extraction and replication. They observe your vulnerabilities, your aspirations, and your fears, then craft a persona that embodies your perfect match. It's a precisely engineered reflection designed to create an inescapable sense of destiny and profound connection. You see yourself in them, and in doing so, fall for a phantom. This seamless mirroring creates an illusion of instant intimacy, bypassing the slow, organic process of genuine connection. Your guard drops, because how can you distrust someone who is so perfectly you, but beneath the flawless surface, there is no depth, only an empty chamber. The mirrored mask is a projection of your own inner world, weaponized against you. It collapses your ability to distinguish between genuine compatibility and a calculated performance. The cost is a profound identity confusion as you merge your sense of self with their fabricated image. This collapse of self-perception sets the stage for the unyielding pressure of guilt lever activation. Guilt isn't an emotion, it's a lever. They understand your internal moral code, your innate need to be a good person, and they weaponize it. Every perceived slight, every boundary you attempt to establish is framed as a betrayal of their trust, a personal injury they endured because of you. They will narrate a story where they are the perpetual victim, and you, by extension, are the source of their pain. Your natural empathy becomes their greatest asset. They create situations where your inability to meet their ever-shifting demands is proof of your cruelty or indifference. This constant emotional blackmail chips away at your ability to assert your needs. You become trapped in a recursive cycle, apologizing for actions that are entirely reasonable, compromising your well-being to alleviate their manufactured suffering. The lever is designed to keep you perpetually off balance, always owing. The activation of this guilt lever forces you into a defensive posture, draining your emotional resources. You second-guess every decision, every instinct. The cost is a complete erosion of your personal agency, as your choices become dictated by the need to assuage their endless sense of injury. This crippling emotional debt makes you susceptible to the chilling effect of silence as nervous system attack. Silence isn't merely the absence of sound, it's a calculated void, an attack on your nervous system. When they withdraw communication without explanation, the abrupt cessation of contact creates an immediate state of psychological distress. Your brain, wired for connection, interprets this as a threat. The sudden absence of their input throws your internal system into a frantic search for meaning, for resolution. You replay past interactions, searching for the error, the misstep, the trigger. This self-interrogation is precisely the intended effect. You become your own interrogator, driven by the need to restore the lost connection. This tactic exploits your fundamental need for certainty and belonging. The prolonged silence creates anxiety, doubt, and a desperate craving for their return. It forces you to project their reasons onto them, often assuming the worst about yourself to explain their absence. The cost is heightened anxiety, a compromised sense of safety, and a reinforced desire to appease them upon their return. Your system is conditioned to fear their withdrawal, making you compliant to avoid future instances. This systematic stress rewires your responses, preparing them for memory reconstruction sabotage. Memory reconstruction sabotage isn't about simply lying, it's about dismantling the very architecture of your recall. They selectively misremember events, deny conversations, or invent details not to deceive you in a single instance, but to erode your confidence in your own past. This systematic distortion of reality creates cognitive dissonance. Your memories clash with their unwavering narrative, forcing you into a state of uncertainty. You begin to doubt your perceptions, your recollections, questioning the veracity of your own mind. "Did that really happen?" becomes a constant internal refrain. The objective is to isolate you from your own history, severing your connection to a stable, reliable past. When your memories are unreliable, your ability to learn from experience, to trust your instincts, is severely compromised. You lose your anchor to reality. The cost is a profound sense of disorientation and heightened vulnerability. Without a concrete personal history, you become more reliant on their version of events, making you susceptible to their current framing of reality. This systematic erosion of self-trust primes you for the fix-me implosion strategy. The fix-me implosion is not a genuine plea for help. It's a strategically deployed vulnerability designed to collapse your defenses. They present themselves as fundamentally broken, damaged, or incapable, implicitly positioning you as their sole potential savior, the only one who can truly understand and heal them. This tactic exploits your empathy and your inherent desire to nurture or to be needed. You are subtly assigned the role of their emotional caretaker, burdened with the responsibility for their well-being. Their perceived fragility becomes a potent weapon, making you hesitant to assert your own needs or boundaries. By framing their flaws as deeply internal, immutable aspects of their being, they absolve themselves of accountability while placing the burden of their dysfunctions squarely on your shoulders. Any attempt to distance yourself is met with implied despair, reinforcing your indispensable role. The cost is immense emotional labor and a draining of your personal resources. You invest your energy into an impossible task, sacrificing your own needs to prop up their manufactured helplessness. This self-sacrificial loop sets the stage for instability as command presence. Instability isn't a flaw. It's a command presence. They meticulously cultivate an aura of unpredictable volatility, not as a sign of weakness, but as a mechanism of control. Their sudden mood shifts, outbursts, or unpredictable disappearances are not random. They are precisely calibrated signals. This calculated unpredictability keeps you in a perpetual state of vigilance, constantly anticipating their next move. Your nervous system is perpetually on high alert, scanning the environment for cues, trying to avoid triggering their next shift. You walk on psychological eggshells. By refusing to adhere to consistent patterns of behavior, they establish themselves as the ultimate authority in the interaction. You are forced to react to their every whim rather than initiating your own actions. Their chaos dictates your calm. The cost is a profound sense of powerlessness and heightened anxiety. You surrender your internal sense of peace in an attempt to maintain external harmony, becoming a hostage to their emotional whims. This constant state of alert prevents you from recognizing the subtle forces at play in the predictability compression field. The predictability compression field isn't about avoiding patterns, it's about actively collapsing your ability to discern them. They systematically vary their tactics, subtly shifting between idealization and devaluation, presence and absence, kindness and cruelty. This prevents you from mapping their behavioral algorithms. When you cannot predict their next move, you cannot formulate an effective defense. Each interaction feels novel, forcing you to develop ad hoc responses rather than relying on established coping mechanisms. Your internal warning system struggles to identify a consistent threat signature. This constant fluctuation keeps you off balance, preventing the formation of clear boundaries or consistent expectations. You are left guessing, perpetually searching for patterns that are designed never to fully emerge, creating a state of perpetual psychological confusion. The cost of this compressed predictability is a compromised sense of agency. You lose the ability to anticipate and prepare, making you reactive rather than proactive. This perpetual state of recalibration leaves you vulnerable to the instantaneous impact of the silent reflex kill method. The silent reflex kill method is not an active attack. It's the engineered removal of your ability to respond. They create a scenario where any natural, healthy reflex to defend yourself, to articulate a boundary, or to express emotional pain is met with an immediate, crushing counter-response. This response isn't always overt aggression. It can be a sudden withdrawal of affection, an insinuation of your oversensitivity, a dismissive laugh. The intent is to extinguish your natural reactive defenses, to teach your nervous system that any attempt at self-preservation will be met with disproportionate, painful consequences. Your innate self-protective mechanisms are systematically overridden. You learn to suppress anger, to stifle hurt, to silence your own voice, because the pain of their counterattack far outweighs the temporary relief of expressing yourself. Your core instincts are rewired. The cost is an internal collapse of your self-defense architecture. You become conditioned to absorb abuse silently, to prioritize their comfort over your own well-being. This creates a psychological vacuum, demanding the desperate installation of a firewall response installation. Firewall response installation is not a passive process. It's an active re-engineering of your internal systems. You must deliberately erect a psychological barrier, a protocol designed to filter and reject their corrosive inputs. This requires recognizing their communication for what it is, malware, not connection. This involves identifying their specific attack vectors, the wire in the complement, the love bomb frequency, the guilt lever. Each recognized pattern becomes a rule in your new firewall. You learn to detect the signature of manipulation before it penetrates your emotional core. The installation isn't easy. It requires constant calibration, retraining your ingrained responses to their triggers. You must tolerate the initial discomfort of resisting, of allowing their manufactured emotional storms to rage without internalizing them. They will test your new defenses. The cost of not installing this firewall is systemic collapse. The cost of its installation is temporary discomfort, but the ultimate gain is the restoration of your internal operating system. This reprioritization defines the paradox of the unmanipulated. Now make sure to subscribe for more deep dives into the dark psyche world and hit that notification bell so you never miss a new video. We'll see you in the next one.